The air buzzed with tension, though the decorations spoke otherwise. Marigolds twisted around iron gates, the scent of rosewater laced the courtyard, and the crowd buzzed with anticipation. Yet, at the center of it all stood Isla, hands clasped in front of her, eyes downcast, fighting the sting of humiliation already creeping up her spine. "Today," her mother announced, voice sharp through the mic, "we announce the engagement of our daughter, Isla, to Ramiz Ali Khan." Polite applause rippled through the courtyard, punctuated by gasps of approval. Ramiz, smirking in his velvet sherwani, stepped forward. He took Isla's wrist with a possessive touch. But Isla didn't smile. Her heart thudded in protest. Her father leaned into the mic, and may no shame ever touch this family again. That word.
Shame.
Isla's throat tightened. She stared past the crowd, and that's when she saw him. Leaning against a sleek black car across the street, arms folded, black suit absorbing the sunlight, Zion.
Silent. Still.
Watching. No one noticed him. No one ever did until it was too late. Isla inhaled, trembling. This couldn't go on. "I can't do this," she whispered, but the mic picked it up, echoing across the stunned courtyard. Silence dropped like a hammer. Ramiz froze. "What did you say?" Isla stepped back, slipping from his grip. "I said, I won't marry you."
Gasps.
Murmurs. Chairs scraping. Her mother's face turned to stone. "You dare humiliate us like this?" her father thundered. "In front of the entire town? I never agreed to this. You forced it on me." Isla's voice was shaking, but growing louder. I gave my heart to someone else. Long ago." The slap came fast, cruel, cracking against her cheek like thunder. "You disgusting girl," her mother hissed, dragging her forward. "Who is he? Some street rat? A driver? A nobody?" Isla didn't cry. Her chin trembled, but her eyes found Zion again, still watching, still silent. "Say it," her father barked. "Say who you sold yourself to." Zion took one step forward. Then another. "He's no one you'd accept," Isla said softly. "But he's the only one who's ever seen me." The crowd erupted. Some women covered their mouths. Men muttered about honor and shame. Ramiz shouted, "Is this what you are? A girl who sneaks around at night while your parents plan your future?" "She's tainted," her aunt screeched. "No decent man will take her now." Isla's fingers curled into fists. Every word cut deep, but not deeper than living a lie. Then a voice, deep and clear, broke through the chaos. "I'll take her." Everyone turned. The crowd parted. And there he was, Zion. His presence silenced even the elders. There was something in his stillness that made people instinctively step back. Isla's heart twisted. He wasn't supposed to speak. Not yet. "Who are you?" her father asked, voice laced with disdain. "Zion Mir," he said simply. "I came here for her." "You think you can just take her?" Ramiz growled. "Who even are you?" Zion's lips twitched. "Just a man who won't let her be humiliated for loving honestly." Whispers rippled.
Mir?
"That name sounds familiar." Her father laughed bitterly. "You think we'll let her go with a man like you? Dressed like a banker, standing on the sidewalk like a beggar?" Zion turned to Isla. "If you'll have me, I'll take you now." Isla stared at him. This man she'd known in secret, who'd hidden his world behind shadows, who never told her the depth of his truth. But right now, in front of everyone, he stood by her, when even her family had turned away. She stepped forward. "I trust him more than I trust any of you." Her mother gasped. "You're throwing away your life." "No," Isla said calmly. "I'm saving it." Without another word, she walked toward Zion. And the moment her hand slipped into his, a camera flash went off. Someone in the crowd had captured it. 1 second, one image, of disgrace or defiance, depending on who was watching. "Walk away," her father warned. "And don't come back." She paused but didn't look back. And Zion, quietly, held her hand tighter. As they left the courtyard, a final voice rang out. It was Ramiz, venom in every word. "She's just a naive village girl. You'll regret this." Zion didn't even turn around. He simply opened the car door for Isla. And as the door shut behind her, he whispered through the window, only loud enough for her to hear. They don't know who I am. Cliffhanger ending. The car pulled away, vanishing into the horizon. Behind them, Isla left shame and tradition. Ahead of her, secrets, power, and a man far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The car doors slammed shut behind her like punctuation on the sentence she'd just written with her life. Isla stared out the window as the dusty lanes of her past blurred into the slick, glass and steel skyline ahead. Every breath she took was laced with adrenaline. Her cheeks still stung from the slap. Her ears still rang with her mother's voice. Tainted disgrace, no man will have you now. And yet, beside her in the driver's seat was a man who had just claimed her before the entire town. She turned her head slightly. Why did you do it? Zion didn't take his eyes off the road. Because they had no right to break you. Urban nightfall. The city unfolded before them, lit in white and gold. His car glided into an underground parking structure beneath a towering building lined in dark glass. She didn't ask where they were. She just followed his silence. A private elevator rose with a whisper. They entered a penthouse lined with muted marble, glass panels, and floor-to-ceiling views of a glittering skyline. Isla stood still, unsure of her place in this silent kingdom. Zion poured water into a crystal glass and handed it to her. You need to calm your nerves. She took it but didn't drink. You didn't tell me you were, she glanced around, voice tightening. This. His eyes locked with hers, dark, unreadable. Would you have loved me if you knew? I didn't love you for this. Her voice cracked. I loved you because you listened. Because when I felt invisible, you looked at me like I existed. That made him pause. He placed the glass down. Then you loved the only real part of me. Flashback fragment. She remembered the late evenings when he'd come to her small clinic with fabricated injuries. Sometimes a bruised knuckle. Sometimes just a scratch. Always polite. Always quiet. He never flirted. Never lingered. But his eyes spoke. I see you. I see the weight you carry alone. He'd never once hinted at money. Never let her see the world he actually ruled. Present. Rising conflict. You took a bullet for me today, she said softly, and you didn't even flinch. Zion looked away. I've taken bigger ones in boardrooms. But why? You don't owe me anything. We're not. He cut her off, stepping closer.
Isla.
You're braver than people know. You walked away from a family that worships reputation more than their own blood. You walked away with your dignity intact. Her throat tightened. But now the world thinks I'm your what? Mistress? Fool? Opportunist? Zion took a slow breath. Then let's fix that.
Her brows knit. How?
He reached into a drawer and pulled out a slim folder. There's an opening in the corporate legal liaison team at MirCorp. You have the credentials. Apply tomorrow. She stared. You want me to work for you?
His voice was steady.
You need protection, Isla. And power. Working under me is the fastest way to both. Her eyes filled. You want to rescue me by giving me a job? No, his voice dropped. I want to see what happens when you finally stand beside me, and not behind anyone. Emotional turning point. Isla stared at the folder in her hands. Somewhere, deep in the shattered pieces of her pride, a spark lit. He's not giving me a crutch, he's handing me a weapon. I'll take it, she whispered. But not because I need saving. His eyes softened just a little. I know. She walked past him then, eyes burning. But if I catch you lying to me again, if there's more you've hidden, this time, I'll be the one walking away. He didn't stop her. Just watched her disappear into the guest room, door clicking softly shut. Cliffhanger. Zion turned back toward the windows. The city spread before him. His phone buzzed. He answered. She's in, came the voice on the other end. Zion's jaw clenched. Make sure the board doesn't find out yet. She'll be a target. I know. His voice was quiet now. But she's stronger than they think. He hung up, but the screen still showed her name. Isla. The one they tried to shame. The one he was going to make untouchable. The moment Isla stepped into MirCorp's grand glass atrium, her heartbeat quickened, not out of awe, but defiance. She wasn't here as the girl shamed by her family. She was here as a woman about to walk into a lion's den, where the lion wore an expensive suit and, unfortunately, also happened to be the man who once looked at her like she was the only thing he couldn't buy. And now she was on his payroll. Scene: the corporate battlefield. The marble floors reflected every nervous footstep as she entered the executive floor. Women in tailored pencil skirts and men with shark-like smiles barely looked up. To them, she was just another new hire. Only she wasn't. Her ID badge bore a gold stripe, one reserved for those who reported directly to the CEO. Her first meeting was in a private conference room, glass-walled, floating above the rest of the floor like a throne room. She sat straight, calm, until the door opened, and in walked Zion. He was different here. Not the quiet, wounded man who once bled for her. This Zion moved with command. His navy suit clung to broad shoulders. His presence bent the room around him. And yet, his eyes softened for a single beat when they met hers. But it didn't last. "Miss Isla Rafi," he said coolly, for the benefit of the others seated. "Welcome to the legal team. Let's begin." She blinked. Not even a private word. Not even a nod that he remembered the firestorm he'd pulled her from days ago. So this is how it's going to be. Inner conflict. As the meeting unfolded, Isla's mind ran double time, absorbing corporate jargon while ignoring the chill that Zion's indifference pressed against her skin. She could feel him watching her from across the table. Evaluating.
Testing.
By the end of the hour, she had spoken up 3 times. Each time, she backed her points with logic. Each time, his lip almost curled with pride, but never fully. When the meeting ended, the others filed out. She stood to leave too, but his voice cut through the air. "Stay." The door clicked shut behind them. "You're adjusting quickly," he said, folding his arms. "That's good. You'll need to." Her fists clenched. "Why are you acting like a stranger?" "Because this is work," he said evenly. "And at work, I don't sleep with my employees." Her breath hitched. "We never." His eyes flicked to hers hard. "But they think we did." "That's enough." Emotional clash. Isla stepped forward. "So that's it? You save me, drag me into your empire, and now pretend none of it matters." "It matters too much," he said, voice low. "That's why I'm keeping my distance." "That's not strength," she snapped. "That's cowardice." Something flickered in his eyes. And then he stepped closer. "You think I don't want to touch you? That I don't remember the way your voice cracked when you defended me before your whole village?" She held her ground, heart pounding. "Then why do you act like I'm just another file on your desk?" "Because if I treat you any differently, the board will come for you. They'll say I'm biased. That you seduced me for power. So you'd rather let me drown quietly?" Her voice broke. "At least when my family humiliated me, they didn't pretend it was for my protection." His jaw clenched. "You're not drowning. You're being tested. And I need to know you'll survive it." Scene shift. Power games. Later that day, Isla walked into the staff cafe. Conversations paused as she entered. A red-lipped woman leaned into a colleague. "That's the girl from the village video, the one he defended like some broken little toy." Isla heard it. All of it. She could have walked out. But instead, she walked up to them, calm. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, taking it before they could answer. They exchanged glances. "I suppose you think you're untouchable now," the red-lipped woman sneered. "Being his charity case." Isla leaned in with a small smile. "I don't need to be untouchable. Just unforgettable. Which clearly I already am." Silence. One of the men at the next table chuckled. The red-lipped woman flushed red. When Isla stood to leave, she felt the tide shift just a little in her favor. Cliffhanger. That evening, Isla stepped into the elevator. Just before the doors closed, a hand slid in.
Zion.
He entered, silent. The elevator began its ascent. Tension crackled like static. "Why did you say what you did?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. Then, Because if I let my heart make decisions at work, I'll destroy you. She turned to face him. And if you keep treating me like I don't matter, you'll lose me. The elevator dinged. He stepped out first, but not before whispering, "Then don't make me choose." The doors closed behind him, and Isla was left trembling, unsure whether she was being drawn into power or pulled into danger. Isla never expected her past to follow her into the glass towers of MirCorp. But on this morning, it came crashing through her inbox like a bomb. Subject line: The truth about Isla Rafi. Attached, a photo she thought had been buried long ago. Her on a rainy night, soaked and barefoot, standing outside Zion's old apartment door. It was time-stamped, captioned, circulated, and now forwarded to every senior executive. Scene: the office firestorm. By the time Isla walked into the legal department, whispers chased her like smoke. Half-smiles turned into pitying stares. Her heart pounded as she passed a desk where someone had quickly minimized a tab. She reached her cubicle, and her phone vibrated. Zion boardroom.
Now.
No explanation. No warmth. She climbed the stairs to the executive floor, knees heavy but spine unbending. When she stepped inside, he was alone. Back to her, facing the tall windows that looked out over the city. He spoke without turning. "Did you leak it?" The accusation stung deeper than any whisper. "Why would I?" she said, her voice tight. "What would I gain?" He finally turned. His face was hard, unreadable, but his eyes, those traitorous eyes, were flooded with conflict. "They think you orchestrated this.
To trap me.
Seduce me. Drag me down." She stepped forward. "And what do you think?" Silence. A beat too long. She laughed bitterly. "You don't trust me. Not even after everything." Zion walked closer, slowly. "I trust you more than anyone. That's the problem." Emotional clash. Her voice trembled. "Then say that. Not just here. Say it out there." "I can't," he said. "The board is watching. Our stock just dropped 3 points because of this." She blinked. "So, I'm your scandal now?"
No, he snapped.
"You're my weakness. And people like us don't get to have those." That word, weakness, cut deeper than she expected. "So, you'd rather let them believe I'm just some village girl who latched onto you for status? Let them call me a gold digger, a liar, a seductress, just to keep your throne polished?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "You don't understand what I've built. What's at stake?" She stared at him. "You're right. I don't understand building empires. But I do understand loyalty. And you're losing mine." He turned sharply. "Then walk away." A silence, so heavy, it seemed the glass walls would shatter. But she didn't move. She just whispered, "You don't mean that."
His voice cracked. "No."
"But I have to." Scene shift. Unraveling secrets. That night, Isla sat in her apartment, staring at the leaked image.
She still remembered that night.
It was the night Zion had first let her in, not into his home, but into his past. The night she found him drunk, crumpled on the floor, clutching an old photograph of his late mother. The night he told her, between broken sobs, they took everything from her because she loved someone they didn't approve of. "I swore I'd never let that happen again." Now he was doing exactly that.
Her phone buzzed again.
This time from an unknown number. Message: "You think you know Zion Khan? Ask him what happened in Berlin." Her blood ran cold. Berlin? The message was followed by a link. A single video file. Password protected. And the password was her mother's name. Who was watching her this closely? She hesitated, then typed it in. The screen lit up, and the video began to play. Cliffhanger. It was security footage. A black car. A cold street. Zion stepping out, dragging a briefcase. Then a man.
Pale.
Angry.
Shouting.
Zion pushed him. There was a struggle. And then the man collapsed. Blood on the pavement. Zion didn't run. He just stood there. And then someone stepped into frame. Her father. Not years ago. Last year. The video cut off. Isla's heart stopped. What had she just watched? And more importantly, why was her family connected to Zion before she ever even met him? The boardroom was filled with polished shoes, sharper tongues, and deadlier silences. And Isla? She walked in uninvited, with the truth clenched in one trembling hand and betrayal burning in her eyes. They wanted drama? She would give them fire. Scene: corporate glass and cracks in the mirror. Zion was mid-sentence when he saw her. His tone faltered, just enough for the finance director to raise an eyebrow. His mask slipped, but only Isla could see the fracture. Miss Rafi, a senior executive snapped, rising. This is a confidential meeting. Then maybe someone should confidentially explain, Isla interrupted, holding up her phone. Why my father shows up in a security video with your CEO the night a man ends up bleeding in Berlin.
Gasps.
Audible.
Sharp.
Zion's face strained of color. The board froze like wax figures. You want a scandal? Isla continued, her voice shaking with fury. Here it is. But I'm not the one hiding bodies. Flashback. The moment before the storm. She hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. The video had played in her mind all night, her father's face appearing beside a scene of violence. Beside Zion. And now everything made sense. Why Zion had always kept her at arm's length. Why her family had tried to silence her love. They had a past, one she was never meant to discover. And she'd been nothing more than the collateral between them. Scene: the confrontation. Zion slowly stood, adjusting his cufflinks like armor. This isn't the place, Isla. Her eyes blazed. And Berlin wasn't the time? He stared at her, longer than necessary. Something unreadable flickered behind his eyes. I didn't hurt that man, he said. He came after me. After your father betrayed him. A beat. Silence. I kept your father's secret to protect you. She laughed. A bitter, heartbroken sound.
No.
You kept it to protect your empire. Board members shifted, sensing the unraveling. No one moved to interrupt. You knew, she whispered. You knew this would destroy me. And you let me walk into it blind. Zion stepped forward, jaw tight. You have no idea how far I went to keep you out of this. I begged you to trust me, she snapped, her voice rising. And every time, you threw walls between us. You think this was easy for me? He roared, suddenly raw. I fell in love with the daughter of the man who almost cost me everything. Do you know what kind of hell that is? She flinched. You loved me? The room stilled. Zion stared at her and didn't answer. Scene shift, the collapse. Isla turned and walked out, her heels echoing like thunder. Cameras flashed as she exited the building. Someone called her name. She didn't look back. By the time she got home, the internet had exploded. Hashtag Isla Rafi exposed. Hashtag faux scandal. Hashtag murder in Berlin. Her family sat frozen in the living room, her father pale as ash. You knew, she said quietly. Her mother began to weep. Her father stood. We tried to protect you, Isla. That man, Zion, he ruined a life in Berlin. And I. You helped him. I cleaned it up so it wouldn't destroy you, he snapped. I knew what he'd become. Ruthless. Calculated. I saw it in his eyes even back then. And yet, she whispered, I still chose him. I gave up everything. My reputation. My dignity. My heart. She looked at them all. And none of you thought I deserved the truth. Emotional breakdown. She collapsed on her bed that night, drowning in the sound of silence. Every beat of her heart a betrayal. Every tear a chapter of a lie. She loved him. She still loved him. And yet, every time he could have chosen her, he chose power instead. Cliffhanger ending. At midnight, her doorbell rang. She opened it and there he was. Disheveled.
Silent.
Zion didn't speak. He just held out a folded document. I resigned, he said. She stared, unblinking. What? I walked away from your corp. The board. The press. Everything. Why? His voice broke. So this time, I choose you. The resignation letter lay between them. Crisp, final, silent. And yet, It screamed louder than anything he had ever said. Zion stood like a man without armor, and Isla had never felt more exposed. Scene: the apartment night. The soft hum of city traffic bled through the balcony doors. She hadn't spoken since he handed her the envelope. He stood at the edge of her world, tired suit, bloodshot eyes, raw vulnerability in every breath. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Zion finally said. I couldn't let you believe I chose the company over you." Isla didn't move. "But you did." His throat bobbed with a dry swallow. "And I lost everything for it." She looked up, eyes sharp.
No, Zion.
"I lost everything. My name, my dignity. My family dragged me through shame because I loved you, and you let it happen." He stepped closer. "I was trying to protect you from the war behind those boardroom doors." "You were the war," she said, voice breaking. Flashback. The power he gave up. The world had seen the headlines that morning. CEO of MirCorp resigns amid personal scandal. Zion Rahim, from tech tycoon to tabloid tragedy. But none knew what he gave up in that moment. Not the billion-dollar deals, not the empire. He had walked away from the throne because her silence mattered more than any shareholder's applause. Scene: emotional standoff. "Then why are you here?" Isla whispered. "Because," he said softly, "I'd rather be nobody with you than a king without you." The weight of his words pressed into her chest. "I came back to face it all. The media. The family.
You.
Because maybe redemption doesn't mean erasing the past. Maybe it means finally standing still and letting the truth break you, so you can rebuild something better." She looked away, the storm in her heart unspoken. "You broke me, Zion." "I know," he said. "And I'm still here." Scene: the family reconciliation. The next morning, Isla stood at the doorstep of her parents' home. Her father opened the door, guilt carved into the lines of his face. "I owe you a truth," he said, "about that night in Berlin." She listened in silence as he recounted the real story.
A bribe.
A cover-up. A loyalty test. Zion had failed because he refused to bury a crime. "He chose to expose me instead," her father finished. "He lost everything because he wouldn't lie." Isla's hands trembled. "Then why didn't you ever tell me?" Her mother wept softly. "We thought we were protecting you from him. But in the end, it was you who protected us." Scene: final confrontation with the past. Later that day, Isla stood before the press. Not as a scandalized daughter. Not as a CEO's hidden lover. But as herself. "I was shamed for loving someone," she said to the cameras, voice clear. "But love, real love, doesn't require permission. It requires truth. And courage." She glanced at Zion, who stood at the back of the room. "He made mistakes.
So did I.
But neither of us deserve to be defined by shadows." Emotional beat. The decision. That night, as twilight painted the skyline, Zion found her on the rooftop. "You didn't have to defend me," he said quietly. "I wasn't," Isla replied. "I was defending myself for the first time in a long time." A pause. Then, "So what now?" he asked. A slow smile tugged at her lips. "Now? We rebuild. Brick by bloody brick." His eyes softened. "Together?" She looked at him, then nodded. "Yes." Ending twist or cliffhanger. But just as they turned toward each other, Zion's phone buzzed. He frowned, looked down, and paled. A single message lit the screen. "You think this is over? The real game is just beginning."
R.
Isla saw his face, and she knew the past wasn't done with them yet.